Okay, so let's begin. What are some things that I want you to do or you should do personally before even starting your ancestors is to ask yourself these 5 questions. What are the 5 questions? What are the 5 questions, Samira? Thanks for asking. The first question, honestly, is when. We're going to go through 5. So y'all know what the rest is going to be. So when are you going to allot your time to make this ancestor altar? I know the saying goes who, what, when, where, why, but I really wanted you to identify if you had time to commit, time to submit, time to sacrifice for your ancestors, because before you even think or even want to buy any materials for your altar, you need to be aware and understand that there's time that you have to dedicate. That this is not a one-time one and done. This is not something that you can actually do, build, and be like, oh, I'm just gonna clean it off later. Because honestly, your ancestors will know. The ancestors will know about your disrespect and neglect that you're placing towards your altar. So I really want you to take time to figure out when you're going to be allotting time for your ancestor altar. It's important for me, it's important for your ancestors, it's important for you to identify this timeline of when you're going to be giving your offerings, when you're going to be giving your prayers and things of that nature, so that you have a better understanding of what you can give, and that's your time to your ancestors, because they gave us so much. I will get back to things. Let's focus on the who. So who are your ancestors and how do you find out who they are? Honestly, truthfully, for me and my journey, the who began with just asking questions from my close relatives. So maybe like a family member, like, okay, say you want to contact, or say you want, I won't say contact, say you want to get in reach with one of your great grands. Just by asking out one of the great 2 times, or even like your mom, who is this ancestor in my life, or who is this past relative? You could say past relative because not everybody knows, oh my gosh, ancestor, wait a minute, who is my past relative? That provides clarity for you. Now, there are some cases where we don't know the full name of our ancestors, and I want to let you know that that's okay. If you don't know the full name of your ancestors, your bloodline and your intentions will lead the way for you. Or the next W is going to be what. So what things did your ancestor like? What things will you be serving them? What things does reminds you of your ancestors? All of those things are good what questions to begin with, and good what information you need to gain before even starting out your ancestor. You need to ask yourself, well, what is it I'm going to be serving? Well, what is it that they like? Well, what is my purpose for even doing this? All those questions need to be answered before even setting up an ancestor altar to get your answers. Okay? All right. So after we have our who, we have our what, we already did our when, so let's go to our where. Where are you going to put your ancestor altar? Have you thought about that? Now, some people, and I've seen so many altars in so many different locations, some altars can be placed on the floor, but I would just recommend you getting like a small cloth or a small little blanket to place there. But if you have small dogs, small cats, small babies, or something like that, just be mindful of your ancestor altar, because you don't want it to be like bothered or messed with and things of that nature. And I can also attest that your ancestors will let you know when it's not in a location that is wanted. Okay, try to avoid like breezeways or doorways where it's a lot of traffic. Try to avoid like windows while your candles will get burned out. Just play out, but just be mindful of the weather. Just be mindful of the behavior, some things that's around it, because even like, you know, if you put it really in an area that has a lot of different energies coming around, you will notice that, and it'll probably appear in your dreams. All right, so we have our who, we have our what, we took care of our when, we took care of our where, and the last question is why. The why is I feel like is the second most important thing next to when, or no, it's the first important thing. Because why are you setting up an ancestor altar? If you're doing it for ill will, if you're doing it for reasons that are not going to be in the highest good of the universe or your ancestors, you're wasting your time. But if you have true intentions of guidance, clarity, and you have that strong will, not that ill will, to continue, then you will see yourself and you will see your altar grow with you. Because yeah, anybody can make an altar, anybody can have a reason on why they have this certain set of materials put up here, but their answers or the clarity that they're looking for will never be provided because of the why. Their why was not answered, or the why was not serving the highest good of the universe or the highest good of them and their ancestors. So you will see their altar become stagnant. You will see it become dusted and collected. And you never want your why or your reasons why you're doing it to dwindle away slowly, because then the relationship between you and your ancestors will as well. So just be careful, just be mindful. Once you be careful, be mindful of where you're going and where you're heading with this altar. And now let's move on to some materials, foods, and things that are necessary for your altar. Okay, great. Now we're here to the stage that we're all needing to know about. First things first. So what you want to do before even like placing things on top of this center that you have, you want to either get a small cloth, or I have one here, a small cloth, or maybe like a family, like a very thin blanket. But this is one of the small cloths that I got from Walmart, and it's your best investment. What I did was, I actually have 4 tablecloths, but when I first started off, I just got 1 yard of actual fabric, and it was undyed cloth or white cloth, and I cut it in between. So now what that gave me was 2 different tablecloths for this small like 8x8 table. It's a nice little size. Don't quote me on that. But for this table, I had 2 separate tablecloths. Now, it's really important for you to dedicate time to cleaning your altar, because like I said, they will let you know when it's dirty, and you don't want them to let you know, because then you're like, damn, everything is falling apart. No, I won't let you fall apart. So this is the best way of having 2 different tablecloths readily available, or 1 different one readily available, so that when you're cleaning off one, you'll have something else to put it on top of. So best investment, just getting a small little white little cloth with 1 yard of fabric, cutting it in half and placing that on top. Great investment, great invention to place on top, just to give your area a nice little setting, to give your altar a nice little setting. So if you're placing it on the floor, there you go. There go the safe zone. It's like the parking spot. It's like the parking spot. The tablecloth is like a parking spot for your table. For your altar. There you go. This is my setting. Here you go. So after we have our tablecloths, what we're going to do is identify some bowls and dishes that we're going to be using in our altar. So I have some examples here. This is actually a small bowl that looks similar to the one that I have on my altar. You don't have to do something that's big. You can do something a little bit smaller, because trust me, I have the smaller ones, because I like to do portions for my ancestors. After you get that small little bowl, or whatever size bowl, that is going to be the bowl for your ancestors. Please, 4 times, please don't allow the dishes that you're using for your ancestors to be circulated in the dishes that is for the community of your house, okay? Because yes, you love your family members, yes, they cool and stuff like that, but the energy of the bowls or the materials that you're using for your ancestors, you kind of want them to have their own things. Hand wash them. Okay, don't be just throwing them in the sink and expect anybody else to like wash the dishes or throw them in the dishwasher. I promise you, keeping the dishes separate and sacred is a way of respecting and giving due respect to the ancestors, and saying, hey, this is for you and for you only. So that's one way of getting things done. Here, another important thing is coffee and tea. That is like the ding ding ding, or the awakener of your actual offering. So with that being said, I have a small mug as well as everything else. I need to find that cup of water. I have a small mug that is allotted for the actual coffee or tea. And like I said before, it does not circulate with the rest of my coffee and tea dishes. It stays right here and near on the altar. And so when I'm done, next day, wash it out, moving on. So another important thing, so once you find your dishes, once you've allotted like all the things that you need a a bowl for your food. You need a cup for your coffee and tea. You're also gonna need another coffee cup or mug, or even like a glass clear cup to put your tutu, which is fresh water. Why you need tutu? Why you need fresh water? Because water is the life force of everything. Water is how your throat gets quenched when you're thirsty. So imagine being a spirit and working so hard for you and having to go through the trenches, the trenches of death and everything like that, just to be present. And water carries life. We know this from when we're in the womb, from all the way till we see the fishes swimming, through the tombs of the coral reef and stuff. I'm from Florida, so we know about. So what I recommend is getting you like about, actually, Publix is out of these when I went, but getting one of these, having it filled up with water, or maybe you can just give it to them like this, give your answer like this, and pouring it in your mug every day. Because remember, you need to give, or I won't say remember, I'm informing you, your ancestors on your altar need water every day, fresh water every day. Do not allow your water to sit there for 6-7 days on end, because that is no longer considered fresh water, and that is an alert. That is a big and we're not doing ants. So if you don't have time to be throwing out your water, getting more, and putting it on the altar, and you just was like, somebody, I need a new method. This dumping out that water, pouring it in, there you go. You saving on a couple cents of faucet driplets. Okay? Oh, and that was actually the next thing. Water is important. Now, you can have 1 cup, you can have 2 cups. I'm a water sign, so I have multiple cups of water sitting on my altar, depending on the type. Since we're only talking about ancestors, say you had an ancestors that loved water, you can put more water than that. But moving on to like when you make your altars for your deities and things of that nature, when you're well advanced in your spirituality, they require a lot more water, a lot more libations, a lot more liquors and things like that. But this is how you begin to learn your foundation. This is how you begin your altar, by just simply giving them fresh water. Like, it's not hard. You drink water every day, so why don't you think that your ancestors want it? Because they not here with you? Trust me, they here and they want the water. Okay, so that's good. Okay, let's talk about foods and foods. So me personally, once you find out, remember our what question, once you find out what type of foods that your ancestors like, it becomes so easy. And even if you don't find out what they like, listen and follow your dreams. Your dreams tell you everything that your subconscious and your spirituality and your relatives, your blood relatives that passed on, want you to know. Okay, so this is how I found out what they liked, or what I liked for them too. Because what you like for them is also something that they may like, because they know that you like making it. They know that you know how to make it, and it's easy. Okay, so that's why I'm going to talk about the next thing, rice. Rice is your best friend. But rice is my best friend per se, because it's from the Iberia brand, and Iberia, and that is actually, this rice right here is one of my family's favorites. I mean, I remember eating it since I was a little girl, so I was like, wait a minute, like, this has to be something that they enjoy, because ain't no way my mama just picked up this rice and was like, here girl, it has to be something that we're familiar with, or that all of the family ate. And it was no lie, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every Easter, all that time, if this rice wasn't in the pot, like, I don't really know, they must have not made the food. Realistically. So with that being said, what I do is I pour maybe like not even a full cup, a half a cup of this in the pot. I let it simmer. Rice cooks so fast, so it's so convenient. Give it like maybe 15-20 minutes. I have a gas stove, so maybe that's why it cooks a little faster. But you have a gas stove, rice is your best friend for making, like, if you, especially in the risings. So once I make that, I get it together, and I provide, hold on, I'm looking for something else. Well, I provide like small fruits and things like that. So also perishables and non-perishables. If you want, you can have like an orange. You can have like, I don't recommend putting cans of things on your Altar, please avoid that because you did not get that from me. If you ever hear somebody say put cans of things, I think it's best for you to open up that can, to place it in your bowl that you have, and to go from there, because nobody wants a can of something sitting on top of their altar. And most of the times that if you're leaving a can on your altar, you're probably gonna forget about it and you're thinking, oh, it'll just be fine, I can leave it there for a couple more days. No, it's easy. Open up that can, pour it out, save the rest for tomorrow, and just rotate whatever the rest of the cans, whatever the rest remaining was in the cans. Easiest way of taking care of that. So we have our foods, which is like a rice. We have our fruits and vegetables, so you can put, like I said, pears, oranges, strawberries. I had a strawberry up here. I have kale. I have a cute little bowl like all set up, and I will show you. So just find out foods that are important. Liquor. So moving on to the next subject. Now, my family lineage, we're from the island, so the liquors, the licors, the wines, el vino, all of that, la viña, is very important to the ancestors. Now, you may not be a drinker, but I'm pretty sure someone in your family lineage is a drinker, so please don't do them disservice by not providing them with things that they like. Like, let's refer back to the foods thing. I don't eat meat. I'm a vegetarian, but I honestly make chicken, I make bacon, I make a lot of things for my ancestors because I know that's what they liked. And it's not hard for me anymore, because previously in the past it was hard for me to make these things, being that I lived my life as a vegetarian for 4 to 5 years now. But it wasn't an act of disrespect when I was making these foods. It was an act of, they're coming to my dinner table, they're coming to my home, they're coming to see me, so why not give them something that they like? You know what I'm saying? They provide this for me, so what am I providing for them? And that's how you create a relationship with your ancestors, by respecting them, by honoring them, by giving them your intentions. My intention is to cook this meat and make sure it's good for you. My intention is to cook this meat and to just show you that, hey, like, I'm not all that salty about you eating meat. But moving on back to the liquors, yes, my ancestors love liquors. So this is a Moscato d'Asti. And Hennessy was a big thing and is a big thing in my family still to this day. So I have a couple of bottles of Hennessy on my altar, along with a couple more liquors. Like I told you, I'm an animal water sign, so that's important to me. But yeah, you're gonna put this is gonna be your libations. This is gonna be something that you pour for more of like you go out, you know how it be when you want some liquor. You want more for your, hey, I'm here, this is for you. And if you run out of liquor, that's okay. I promise you they understand. But when you get your funds back, make sure you put that alcohol back too, because that's something that's important to the ancestors. They see that you're being consistent with giving them coffee, tea, water, food. Why not give them that shot? Okay, it's just plain and simple. So now, before I enter this other stage, I want you guys to please practice fire safety. Okay, great. So now that we got that fire safety tip out the way, I wanted to talk to you about other things that you can put on your altar. My Uncle Horace, Ashe, he loved to smoke. So in Allegro, when you get into more of the different deities, but that's not until you communicate with your ancestors, so don't even think about talking to the other deities until you finish this altar. Okay, so he loves cigars, and a lot of the advanced spiritualists and a lot of the other Babalu priests and priestesses, they actually smoke these to invoke or to initiate or to let the spirits know that they're giving them something. So this is a good thing to have on your altar. If you don't smoke, then you can just leave it in this wrapper. You see how I have mine? You can get them from like your smoke shop. I'm sure we all go to the smoke shop, but these are like really perfect little symbolizations to like rest on your altar. And when it comes time, I do smoke it or take care of it until it gets no longer usable. So fire safety is important. So cigars when using it. Moving on, ancestor money. Let me see if y'all could. Ancestor money is so fun. I love it. But I'll make another video on what exactly it is, but it's like called a hell bank note as well. And what you do is you burn this for your ancestors to give back to them for their work, for burning the karmic debt that they may be experiencing. And watch that video later on when I post it on what a ancestor money is. But this is also another thing that I keep on my altar to burn whenever it's necessary. So what you do is, another thing I recommend, get you an abalone shell. Don't ask me how to say it. I think it's abalone. I'm not looking up the definition. Get you one of these shells so you can burn your items, your things safely. And last but not least, and it should be the first thing that you get your hands on, honestly. Okay, the answer say it shouldn't be the first thing, but it should be. It should be something that you think about. Yeah, propped up on your altar. Incense. This is the 7 African powers. It is my favorite. I do have a lot of it. I need to start burning some more because the smell is potent. But this is what you want to do to like say hello to your ancestors. Say, hey, I'm initiating something. This is for you. You say your prayer and you go about what you got to do. Meaning, when I say what you got to do, your prayer. Like you got to actually say, hello, ancestors, Mojuba. In the Yoruba sense, it's different for each religion, but Mojuba is how you say hello. Baba Tony, so you enter their name, Baba Tony, and ask us after. So that's one way of getting it done, burning your actual incense. One more important item that is really essential to helping bringing your ancestor altar together, and it is like a photo frame, something simple. So now this is my personal one, so be nice. So this is a photo of my grandma or my ancestor, and this is a list of their names. So go by your local dollar store, go by your local Walmart, Target, wherever you buy your photo frames from, and purchase one. It can be a full frame. It doesn't have to be divided by 2 like this, but I just like that it was divided by 2 because I was able to put a photo and also to put a list. So on that list that I have here, you're going to see a list of my ancestors, and also unknown and unknown ancestors are mentioned at the end of the list because they're also important. Because we, like I said, we may not know all of their names, but we should still give recognition because they helped regardless. So go ahead and get you a small photo frame and begin to start setting up this nice beautiful frame in the middle of your altar. That'll help you, give you the guidance and the remembrance that you need to continue to come back to know, to remember, so you don't have to carry like a list or a big old book. It's right there on your altar. The presence, the energy is right there on your altar. And like I said, if you don't have photos, it's okay. Just writing out the actual names helps just as much as a photo. Okay?